In this series, Herd Strategies President Denise Herd connects with industry leaders and community members to discuss the challenges they face within their fields. Join us bi-weekly to learn all about how they see us.
Hi, I'm Denise Herd, and welcome back to How They See Us. If this is your first time listening, I'm so glad you're here. And if you've been with us before, thank you for coming back. Now, today's episode is a little bit different because we're not in the studio. Actually, our podcast studio, that is. We're actually recording from a place that's near and dear to my heart, Studio G Fitness, a woman-owned gym here in Indy where I train every week. I've been working out with Gina Brown, or Gina B, as we lovingly call her, who co-founded Studio G with her husband Kevin and longtime group fitness instructor Pat Trowers Johnson, who actually used to be my training partner before she became an instructor. And what they've built here is truly special. This space isn't about just lifting weights and doing cardio, and we all know how much I love cardio. It's about healing and building confidence and creating a strong community. And I've felt it personally, and I've seen it in others who have walked through these doors. So since it's Mental Health Awareness Month, we thought this was the perfect time to talk about the powerful connection between physical health and mental health. And it's not just a feeling. There's actually a science behind it, and we're going to talk about that because I think that Studio G has figured out the formula for bringing those two issues and topics together. You know, they say that regular exercise has shown to reduce symptoms of anxiety and also depression. It improves your mood, it helps with sleep, and it also boosts brain health. So today, we're going to hear from Gina and Pat about how they see this connection play out with their clients, what wellness means to them, and how they're making a meaningful impact in the community. But before we get started, could you both introduce yourselves and tell our listeners a little bit about your journey to Studio G? So Pat, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, well, thanks for having us, Denise.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I have been, I guess, with Studio G before Studio G was Studio G.
Wow.
So I have known Gina for many years. Actually, we worked in a whole other industry together, is how I first met her. And then started with her on her Zumba journey and followed her around the city to her packed classes with Zumba. And then when the studio opened, you know, I became part of her clientele, or continue to be part of her clientele. And that's when we started to get more into kind of the strength training. You know, I had always worked out pretty much most of my life, but I hadn't done as much strength training and weightlifting. And so, you know, I started to do that with Gina, watched her do some of the competitions that she did, et cetera. And so then just became part of her clientele and then part of the staff and part of the advisory board for the studio. And so just continuing the journey and loving it.
And I've watched part of your journey.
Actually.
We stood shoulder to shoulder at 5 a.m. flipping truck tires.
Yes, 5:15 a.m. twice a week. And actually, there was one day, for some reason, Gina didn't come to one of our training sessions. I don't know, something happened and she couldn't make it. And so the class was like, oh, we'll just go home. And I was like, no, the stuff's on the board, let's go. It's right there, we know what to do, let's go. And I think that's where the spark came to say, well, why don't you get your license and start training?
Yeah.
So that's how it began.
That. And she did you proud.
I think I overslept.
Yeah, I was trying not to say that.
I overslept that day.
She did you proud. She did you proud. And so, Gina, thank you, Pat. Thank you so much. So, Gina, tell us about yourself.
Oh, well, my name is Gina. Like you said, I go by Gina B. And family, 4 kids, a loving husband that if it wasn't for him, we may not even have no Studio G, because this was all his big vision.
Wow.
But like Pat said, we used to work together, and then, you know, life happened and whatnot. And I got into fitness, and then we eventually, things evolved. And then here we are today at Studio G. And it's what I do on a daily basis, is what I think about all day long.
Because you're a business owner.
My brain is always...
Yes, we know. We see
Yeah.
it on the whiteboard.
Yes,
Exactly.
always.
We do. So thank you both for sharing a little bit of your backstory for our listeners. And something that I do want to add is that we actually have people here with us in the studio that came out to watch us. And we have trainers, we have clients, and they're all watching. And so they're in the background. They've been told to that they have to be quiet, but I don't think they will be. But but they are here, and we're grateful to have them here with us because they're all a part of this journey and a part of the Studio G family. So thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I have some questions for you all that I want to talk about, but we can take this conversation in any direction that we feel fit or appropriate.
Okay.
But I know you talked a bit about how Studio G got started, but I want to know a little bit more, like what inspired you? You know, what? So,
I was like, what was that? I'm a big chicken, so. Okay, so what inspired me to open Studio G? Let's see, so years ago, I was working with a fitness center, and things happened, and I was at a crossroads and had to make a decision if I was going to stay there or leave. And Kevin and I met with the management, and we couldn't come to an agreement as to what we were disagreeing on. And
it happens.
yes, so we couldn't come to an agreement. So we left, and Kevin said, "Well, we're leaving." I said, "Huh?"
Oh, wow.
I said, "What?" He said, "No, we're leaving." I was like, "Okay." What are we gonna do? Well, one day I was praying and asking the Lord, what direction, what do you have me to do? You brought me to this place, and now all these things are happening. What do you have for me to do? And while I was on the phone, not while I was on the phone, but while I was praying, I got a phone call. And I started not to answer the phone because I was praying. And I don't know, the Holy Spirit just told me to pick up the phone. And when I did, it was a girl by the name of Tania that I went to college with. And I don't even think she said hi. She just said, "Gina, it's me, Tania, and I need your help. I need to lose some weight." And when she said that, and then, when I think about what I was praying about, it just it was a revelation that, the Lord, he wanted me to be in a position where I could help people with their health. Because of course we had already been thinking, about it and whatnot, but that was just my confirmation that this is what we were to do. So went to Kevin, and I was crying. I was like, okay, we're gonna leave, and he was like, I know. So, and I think even that week, the mall, Lafayette Square, called me or emailed me. I think she sent me an email and said, "Hey, would you be interested?" Because something had happened I can't remember what happened at the other place, but we had to move class for that night. There was some emergency that happened. My classes, I was having like 100, 125 people. So it was not easy to just not have class. So Kevin, he called the mall, and they had like some vacant spaces in there, and we ended up having class that night at the mall, and we had like 80 people there. And so the mall ended up calling back once we made the decision we weren't going to be there, and asked, would you all be interested in opening up a fitness studio inside the mall?
Wow.
I was like, a mall? That's from the TV show.
Right.
We got a TV show too, but yeah, so that's kind of, where things, and then we rented that space for a little bit, and then ended up getting another space within the mall, and that's where everything was born.
I remember before I knew you, I was like, what is that when you stalk people on social media? And I remember seeing the pictures, and the things that I kept saying is, they look like they're having so much fun. They look like they're having so much
Yeah,
fun.
we were.
And then, you know, like when we were preparing for this podcast, we were talking about like the timing that you take to start working out. And I would say, and I remember saying like, well, I'm gonna go when I get myself together. But I
Right.
just kept looking at the pictures, and I was like, they look, you know, I was seeing women of all
Everything.
being different, everything.
Yeah.
And so then I remember, and because you really have blessed a lot of people, because even like my connection to you, we're, you know, because Gina and I, what you all may not know is Gina and I are sorority sisters. And so Gina was chairing our health and wellness committee or
Yeah.
something, or heart health or something. And she was up in front of the sorority, and she was going in hard about get your life.
Get your life right
Get your
now.
life right, yeah. And I was sitting in a row by myself, and I was really struggling at that time because I was like not healthy. I wasn't exercising. My weight was out of control. Things were not good. And after she finished, she at the end of her commentary, she said, the time's gonna go by anyway, so you may as well be doing something with it. And I said, that's right. And all the people in front of me turned around. And the next thing I knew, I had signed up, and it's been like
Yep.
love ever since.
been
So
history.
thank you for listening to
Yes.
the call, and for, you know, taking and leaning into your faith also, because it does take a lot of faith
Oh, yeah.
to do what you have done and what you have created.
And to continue doing it.
Yes, because I know sometimes we make you want to like close the door and put a padlock on it.
I
but
only
thank
quit.
you.
I only quit like every 6 months now. I used to quit every month.
Oh,
But so
I'm
it's
glad
I'm
that
getting
you
better.
changed. Okay,
Getting
we're
better.
making progress. Okay, good. Okay, good. Yeah, I know we can drive you there. So, yeah. So, Pat, you know, working shoulder to shoulder with someone can sometimes, you know, it's a very dynamic relationship, because, you know, in this type of environment, it's almost like you have to be equally yoked, if you will, in order to move the business forward. So, what made you decide to come alongside? Because I remember when you transitioned over and became a part of the other side, like of the other side. And
Right,
so oh, you became one of them. So I remember when that happened. And so what made you do that? And how have you worked to create a relationship that complements one another to keep things going?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it was kind of serendipitous, because it really did stem from that morning I talked about, right? It was really, I had not necessarily thought about being a personal trainer before, but I also was doing some transitioning. I was transitioning out of a career that I had for like 20 plus years. And so it was a good time to kind of think of, okay, so what else can you do? And so when we had that episode, and then it was like, well, maybe you should consider getting your training license. And I always liked to teach and to instruct and to help people and that kind of thing. So it made a lot of sense. And so I just decided, well, let me go ahead and do it. Why not? And then in terms of how we work together, I just think we complement each other. I think we have a great deal of trust in each other. I mentioned that I had worked with Gina in another environment before. So even from then, I could see that there was something about this individual. We had one incident where, you know, I had to give her some feedback based on something I heard from someone who actually should have given her the feedback. You know, and it really struck me the way she took it. You know, she took it as, okay, so I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna conquer it, as opposed to, and I'm mad and I'm not talking to anyone. You know, it was a very, you know, so something about her spirit, something about her desire to just do things and do them well. I always, you know, that started the level of trust that we have. And then now I think we just we bounce ideas off of each other. We, you know, we flex to each other's styles when we need to. And so we just keep it, you know, moving in that direction. So, you know, and I've evolved to do, you know, other things. I teach classes, I train, I'm on the board of, you know,
All of it.
doing
All
some
of
community
it,
engagement
yeah.
activities. So just, you know, and I must say, and I've said this before, I really admire Gina. I really admire the partnership she has with Kevin too, and the way they have built this place, and the way they work together. So it's really important to me to do whatever I can to continue to support
Gotcha.
their success.
That makes sense.
And
That
she
makes
does.
And you can tell. I
Do
think that
whatever.
we as clients, I think that everyone out here, everyone's heads are going up and down. So I think everyone's in agreement with that. We see the dynamic that exists between the two of you all, and we benefit because of that. So whatever you're doing, keep on
Keep
doing
doing
it
it.
because it's working.
It's easy. It's a very
that's
easy relationship.
That's how it should be.
It's
Yeah.
very easy.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
So I want to shift gears a little bit because I want to talk about the mind-body connection. And I want to talk a bit because you've seen a lot of people come through your doors. And so I would love to spend a little time, and this is a question for both of you all, to talk about how you've seen fitness positively impact your clients' mental health over the years. So either one of you can take that.
I'll start.
Especially, in today's.
You can go ahead and talk about it. It's okay. This is like, I think you can go ahead and say what's on your mind. It's
Well,
all
I
good.
have to watch myself
I
because
know.
I'll get to crying and stuff. I'm not going there, but
yeah.
I've seen people come in. Even this morning, a client came through the door, and I'm always, no matter what I have going on, good morning. You know, I'm loud. It's in the morning. Catch me around 9 o'clock in the evening. I don't have nothing for you. But in the morning, I'm up. And when the client came in, everybody said good morning, and she just walked right past and walked in. And that doesn't bother me because I know, you never know what people have going on. So you just have to decide, I'm going to be who I am. And, hopefully, they'll kind of soften up or what have you. Within 10 minutes, she was fine. So I don't know if something, before she left home, I don't know what was going on, but if I start to, harden up and get, that doesn't do anything to help anybody. So I love seeing people come in one way and leaving differently, even if it's only for 45 minutes, an hour. It's worth it. It's wonderful to see. And I know that Studio G, not just me, but Studio G has helped people get through some tough mental positions.
Yes.
I know that. So,
Yes.
and those are things that keep me going and keep me, coming up with different programs and different this and different that. And, even when I get tired or stressed or what have you, my answer is still yes. And because I see them, that's the beauty of my job. I get to actually see the transformation. So it's a blessing.
What I see too is when a client comes in and they begin to do something they didn't think they could do when they walked in the door,
Yes.
like flipping a tire per se.
The infamous tire situation.
But it's such a difference in the way they see themselves. Like they never thought that they had that level of strength or
Yeah.
energy or whatever
Yeah,
the case may
that's
be.
true.
Or that they can fit into something that they never thought they would fit into again. And you can see a level of confidence, and you see people's personalities in some ways change and they really come out of themselves. So I think that's really rewarding as well.
I think you've created a culture. I think that's part of your culture because even years ago when I was a new client, my first training session, in fact, she's here tonight, Miss Divina, she was there my very first training session and I was absolutely terrified. And everyone looked so like they knew what they were doing. And then I turned around, I'm like, I'm really scared. And she said, it's like, you don't know.
Yeah,
what
you don't know.
And so she said, oh, don't worry, I won't leave you. And, she was like, no matter how long it takes, I won't leave you. She was like, but you will finish. But it wasn't like you will finish. It was like, you'll finish. Just like, you'll tie your
can
shoe.
do it.
Like, yeah, you can do it. And so I was like, I don't know. But she literally stood shoulder to shoulder with me through my first workout, and I did finish, and I finished with everybody. So I didn't get left behind because I finished with everybody, not that I would have been left behind,
Right.
but I finished. Now, I will say I soaked in like about a gallon of Epsom salt in hot water. And, you know, I probably own stock in Icy Hot now after that workout. But I realized then after that first workout, like, this is just different. It's just
Yeah.
a different place. It's not about the workout. It's about the person.
Yeah.
Right,
The
right.
And you
total
and
person.
Davina, y'all still train shoulder to shoulder.
That's
We
right.
do,
That's
we
right.
do.
Till
That's
this
right.
day.
That's
We do.
right.
To
12
this day.
years
I know.
later. Oh, wait, is it 12?
Is it
How
12?
many
I
years?
think I'm in her 12.
It's
No.
probably,
12?
it's got to be close.
It's
Yeah.
been a long time.
Yeah.
We 2012. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
It's
a long time. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
It's
wow.
crazy.
It is crazy, but because time goes by. But clearly, you've created a community, and that's why people come. And they may leave, but they end up coming back.
Coming back.
And it's funny when people come back, going with that whole kind of like, "I'm back," like,
Right.
you know, shy, like, oh. Like, don't look at my hips.
Right, right.
And we like to always say this is a judgment-free zone,
Yes.
right? So,
Yes.
you know, yeah, we all gain and lose, and,
Yeah.
you know, you just,
Amen.
it's a journey.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Very, very true. So let me ask you something, staying in this same lane on this conversation. Do you intentionally integrate any mental health practices like mindfulness and stress relief techniques or emotional check-ins into your fitness programs?
I can't, what is the name of the program that?
Self-care.
It was that one where we were
28
fasting?
days
Was that the-
self-care.
Yeah. it was
Yeah,
that one.
so that program was specifically designed to, you know, help with mental stress, mental health, you know, things of that nature. With that program, we had like yoga, we had, what else did we
We started off the session, we had a minister come in
Minister,
and
Yep.
do a Sunday night, you know, kind of a sermon, but also a discussion, an encouraging discussion. We talked about the ways that you should do self-care. We always try to incorporate, you know, not only just the diet and the exercise, but the rest and the relaxation. I don't think we probably do that as much as everybody would love to, but we definitely in that one wanted to make sure people understood this is part of the equation and you have to do that, you know. In fact, just this morning, one of our challenge women said, you know, I was really exhausted, so I didn't come this morning, and I'm okay with that, you know. And I think that we have to kind of encourage, you know, we don't want that every week,
Right. You get one time. You get one time to be exhausted.
but we want to encourage people to listen to their bodies,
Gee, thanks.
and one time to be tired,
And one time to be sick. That's it. That's it.
I just talked about how warming and welcoming the culture
We
is.
are. We are.
But you get one absence. No, but also I want to continue with this still because you all did a really amazing event back in January. Because there was a situation for many where, you know, mental health became, the topic of mental health really hit a higher volume, if you will, for lack of a better descriptor. And you all, instead of, because I'm of the mindset, either you're going to talk about it or be about it, otherwise you're just a bobblehead. And so you all decided not to talk about it, you were going to be about it. And so can you tell us a little bit about that event that you held back in January?
Was that the We
It's
Gonna
gonna
Be
We're
be
going
All
to
Right?
be all right.
That was your idea, wasn't it?
Well, it stemmed from, so
That
I
song.
teach a class Wednesday mornings, real early. So Wednesday morning is the day after Tuesday, which is an election day. And so that next day, when we came in, the song that, you know, I felt we needed to hear was "We're Gonna Be All
You're
Right."
all right. And that's,
So, yeah,
that's,
Kendrick Lamar.
Mhm.
Right, he's the sounds of our time. So we did that class, and then after the class, we started talking, and I think it was a group of us that the idea kind of came up, like, so on Martin Luther King's birthday, let's do, you know, a class, and let's make that the theme. And we would do music that was uplifting, we'd do music that was music of the struggle, you know, those types of things, so that people would have a place to come that day. They'd have a place to be together that day, and that we would just lift each other up and let each other know, you know, we are going to be all right, you know. So
I thought that was pretty cool, you know, because it was
It was
real.
so funny because I can't remember. You were playing the song, I think it was like maybe a couple weeks after the event, and it was "We Gonna Be All Right," and you was like, "No, we're not." She leaned over, she said, "No, we're not." I was like, okay, but we gonna be
for that
together.
day,
But we gonna be together.
That's such a Denise thing. Yeah,
And it was in your PR voice
Was
too.
it really?
No, we're not.
I know, I did. I was
Just
like,
between you and me.
you know, like, we're really not going to be okay, but we're just gonna push through.
Right.
Kind of like the workouts. We're gonna be all right.
Right, we're gonna make it. We've been through worse.
Exactly. Okay. So I want to talk about this safe place because there are people and organizations that pride themselves on this is a safe place. That seems to be like the trending phrase these days. Okay, safe place, and then say something highly inappropriate or whatever. And so. But you have created a safe place here at Studio G. I think that all of the clients that come through these doors, like you said, they're coming with something, and your physical health, your weight, your being able to be nimble, to live, that's very personal, and that's hard. And you look at other people and see what they're doing, and sometimes you feel intimidated, but in this space, you don't feel that. You don't feel like, okay, though I'm teamed up or partnered with someone that is doing, deadlifts and using like a 60-pound weight and I can only use a 10, you still feel like that's my partner,
Right.
And so that's very important because your mental positioning when you come in can throw you, make you walk out the door. So how do you do that? How do you make sure your clients, whether it's their first day or their 1000th day, all feel like this is safe?
I think the wonderful thing about the staff at Studio G, I always say the staff was handpicked by God. I truly do believe that. But we just lead by example, we just always, just try to make people feel as welcome as we can. And Kevin and I, we've gotten to a point where, we don't have to worry about, when new people come and out, we already know the staff and the students, they got them. You know what I mean? When they someone's gonna welcome them, someone's gonna hug them, somebody's gonna ask them, how'd you hear about it? We don't have to worry about any of that.
That's true.
And so that just, but that's how we are as well. So, that just kind of falls down. And the wonderful thing about Studio G, it's drama free. I don't.
Because if any pops off, we're like, oh no.
Yeah. Don't get it twisted. We will fight you. We will fight you.
With our hands.
We sure will. We gonna fight.
For real.
We gonna fight because
With our hands, just.
because of the people that we have here. If someone's being mean to somebody, you're just being mean. I already know, no one in here did anything to offend you, did nothing to you. Okay, so if you come in bringing extra energy and attitude or whatever you bring in, we gonna fight because you just being a mean person. Because we're not mean here. We're not.
We really aren't. Well, some of the trainers and those I think if we did a survey of the clients, but hey. So we have just a few minutes left in this part of our conversation because we're going to break this up into two conversations because we have so much to talk about. So I just got the sign that I need to start wrapping up this side of this conversation, but I do want to close out this conversation asking you both, how do you care for your mental health? Because you care for so many. How do you all take care of yourselves?
Well, it's something we have to keep top of mind. And sometimes it's really easy to fall into the trap of not taking care of yourself because you're busy doing other things. So, you try to intentionally take downtime. You try to intentionally. My biggest issue is lack of sleep. So I've been really trying to focus on, just move it up an hour, just move it up 2 hours. Or when you don't have to get out of the bed if something happened. Like I train people outside of the studio as well, and I had 2 clients, cancel this morning. And now I could have gotten up and still done something, and I said, you know what, let me take that time. So those are the moments that you just have to grab for yourself. Definitely, and Gina's talked about it, you need to keep your spiritual self in line, making sure that you're taking time for prayer, meditation, whatever it is that you do that grounds you and connects you to God. And so that's something that you have to prioritize also in your life.
I think for me, I make sure I go to my nail appointments, even though I have no time to do it. I'm bad about this because I still have my computer and I'm working while I'm getting a pedicure and all that. I need to get better about that. Trying to make sure, even doing things as simple as putting lotion on, because I rush so much. And then just walking around rusty and ashy than a mug, okay? So trying to be intentional about those type of things, trying to even do a scalp massage, I'm trying to be more intentional about doing those things. And of course, I work out. Pat, we work out. Pat works out like for 5 people at least.
She does quite a bit.
She works out
like a lot. Like it's scary a lot. Yeah.
And she teaches her class, and she still works out.
And then she comes in and screams at us, and that's what conversation.
That's a whole nother
That's a whole nother story. That's a podcast on its own.
One thing that we do as a team.
Oh, you do your outings.
We do our outings. We go and
Yes.
get massages together at least once or twice a year. So I mean, that's so we do try to,
Well, this one goes and this one goes.
Okay, for the group
We
massage.
can expand that.
We have the vision party.
We had a vision board party recently.
Because where there is no vision,
the people perish.
perish.
That's right. That's right.
So and we have our meetings, our monthly meetings. With the assistant, it's myself, Kevin, Pat, Davina, Jen, and Jenny when she can make it.
Love Jenny.
And we have our wine and we have our good food and all that good stuff. We meet for about 4 minutes
And then
stop
and we
it.
party
for like an hour.
and we party the rest of the time.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you, because I think it's so important, because a lot of times when you spend so much time giving to others and helping others and pushing others, you forget to love on yourself. And so it's important that you all take care of yourselves, because we rely on you to take care of us. So, and you have to lead by example. So if you all are taking care of yourselves, then it's almost like we feel like we can do it too, and you're showing us the right way to do it, because there are some bad ways that we can do it too. So that's very helpful to hear yourself talk about that, because I think sometimes we don't give ourselves permission or the latitude, just like the client this morning that said, I'm just tired.
Right.
I'm just tired. And that happens. And so to feel like, because we all know you're tired, that you all are tired. Like, Pat, you teach like 20 classes a week, so you've got to be tired. So, but to know that you all are human is really, really helpful. So I'm going to close out this part of our conversation here, because we have so much more to talk about. That we did, like I said, we wanted to break it out into 2 sections, but I really want to thank you both so much for being here today and for the work that you do. And I'm really grateful that Studio G is a safe place for all of us. I mean, mental health awareness is something that we've been talking about, and we're seeing like more transparent conversations about mental health. And I had told the team, I don't want to just have a conversation about saying it's okay to say you're not okay.
Right.
Like if you don't say you're not okay, then how do we know that you're not okay? Okay, I just said it, but I really wanted to have.
It's
like
not
a
easy for
meaningful-
everybody to just say, hey, I'm not okay.
Right, and you've created a space where we can't, because I know I have come in here and said I'm not okay, like I can't do this, and you all have like got me through. So the real testimony here. Gina and Pat, thank you so much for everything you shared so far. This conversation has been powerful, and we're just getting started. To everyone listening, that wraps up part 1 of our special episode recorded live at Studio G Fitness. In part 2, we'll dive deeper into the barriers women face when it comes to working out, the impact of social media, and the role nutrition plays in supporting both physical and mental health. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Don't forget to subscribe to How They See Us wherever you get your podcasts, and catch the video version of previous episodes on our official Herd Strategies YouTube channel. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Talk soon.